Use headphones for best experience.
At Ashbury Asylum, most patients talk to the ceiling. Caleb talked to the stars, and tonight one of them answered. Dr. Catherine Hayes first witnessed the nightmare on a crisp autumn night. The halls of Ashbury Psychiatric Hospital were quiet, until chaos erupted in room 13. Orderlies grappled with a man thrashing against his restraints, his wiry frame surging with unexpected strength. His eyes were wide and unseeing, fixed on horrors only he could see beyond the walls. "It's burning!" the patient screamed, voice raw and ragged. The light that laughs from the dark." His words poured out in an incoherent flood, both plea and fury. Catherine stood at the foot of the bed, heart hammering. She had been summoned when the night nurse saw the patient's vitals spike and heard guttural shrieks echo down the corridor. She had seen psychotic breaks before, but this felt different. The man, Caleb, she reminded herself, wasn't ranting about personal demons or paranoid delusions. His ravings were vivid and otherworldly. He spoke of green fire in the sky and a giant made of light that tormented him. He babbled about shadow mountains, black valleys, and music that shakes the stars. These weren't the typical fixations of schizophrenia or drug hallucinations. The imagery was cosmic, as if plucked from an alien sky. At last, a syringe of sedative found its mark in Caleb's arm. His thrashing slowed, tension bleeding from his limbs as the drug pulled him back from the brink. The orderlies managed to ease him onto the mattress. He lay there, panting, sweat-soaked, eyes rolling beneath fluttering lids as if still caught in the dream. Catherine stepped closer, cautious, but curious. "Caleb? Can you hear me?" she said softly, leaning in to check his pulse. It was racing but beginning to ebb. In the low light, his face looked almost peaceful now, except for a final crease of anguish on his brow. He exhaled one last word as he sank into unconsciousness. "Algol." Catherine's breath hitched. Algol. She vaguely recalled it was the name of a star, a peculiar, specific word for him to utter. 2 weeks ago, when she first received Caleb's case, he'd been just another inmate in the forensic ward, 32 years old, a drifter from the Catskills, found not guilty of a violent crime by reason of insanity. By day he was quiet, even dull, speaking only in mumbled monosyllables, but by night, something in him unleashed. This had been the third straight midnight eruption since his arrival. Each time, Caleb woke from a dead sleep screaming of impossible things, each episode more intense than the last. What disturbed Catherine most was the consistency. In his lucid moments, Caleb's vocabulary was limited and rustic. Yet in these frenzies, though he still spoke in simple language, he described phenomena no uneducated country mechanic should know. Through the observation window, Catherine watched as the orderlies loosened the straps and caught their breath. One muttered about the crazy stuff Caleb had been hollering. Lights, shadows, and some weird word. "Algol," she quietly corrected, not taking her eyes off the sleeping patient. He was calm now. Catherine recalled something he had snarled the night before. "I'll burn through. Burn it all away." At the time it had seemed like senseless rage. Now, she wasn't so sure. Burn through what? Some barrier between him and that giant of light? A prickling unease crawled over her skin. There was a pattern to Caleb's ravings, a recurring struggle he spoke of as if it were real. A radiant, malevolent presence haunted him nightly, and he fought it with an almost epic determination. It was as though he were recounting chapters of a war waged on some other plane of existence. She forced herself to take a step back and breathe. The corridor was quiet again, but her mind raced. There had to be a rational explanation. The mind is capable of endless strangeness when it fractures, especially a mind shaped by isolation and trauma like Caleb's. Perhaps he had latched onto cosmic imagery from a forgotten book or a stray late-night TV program. The star's name could be a coincidence. Yet those explanations rang hollow. How would a man who'd never left the backwoods dream up vistas of space and distant stars? His records showed no TV or internet at his remote cabin, no indulgence in science fiction, and algol was not the kind of word one just stumbles upon. Catherine rubbed her temples, a dull headache gathering behind her eyes. It was nearly 4 a.m. Sleep was out of the question now. In the doctor's lounge, she opened her laptop and searched the term Algol star. The results confirmed her recollection. Algol, the demon star, a distant binary known for its eerie, pulsating brightness. In mythology, it was an ill omen, the blinking eye of Medusa. More to the point, it was something Caleb simply shouldn't know existed. She closed the computer, her skin tingling with an idea both outrageous and compelling. What if these weren't mere nightmares? What if, in the depths of sleep, Caleb was touching something real, something far beyond his own psyche? It was a disturbing thought. Catherine paced the empty hallway, fluorescent lights buzzing softly overhead. The human brain was still a frontier, especially in the shadowy realm of dreams. Could a troubled mind somehow pierce the veil between reality and something else? She gazed through the window at the sleeping man. He looked small and fragile now, a world away from the raving madman of minutes ago. Whatever battle he was fighting in his dreams, he was fighting it alone, and it was slowly destroying him. Catherine made a quiet vow to herself then and there. She would not let him face it alone again. Tomorrow, when Caleb awoke, she would gain his trust and dig deeper. And when night fell once more, she would be ready to venture beyond his dreams by his side, if that's what it took to uncover the truth. Morning light found Dr. Hayes at Caleb's bedside. He was awake, wrists still loosely strapped to the rails for safety, staring at the ceiling with bloodshot eyes. The aftermath of the night's frenzy had left him drained. His face was ashen, with dark hollows under them. Catherine spoke softly, notebook in hand. "Caleb, do you remember what happened last night?" He gave a weak frown. "Had a bad dream, I guess," he said hoarsely, like always. "What was it about?" she pressed gently. Caleb closed his eyes, searching through the murk of memory. "There's this thing, comes at me in my sleep. Pure light, burning like the sun. I can't really see it, but I know it's there." A tremor crept into his voice. "It doesn't talk. It just laughs inside my head, mocking me. I hate it. I try to fight or run, but I can't ever get away." His breathing hitched, and Catherine placed a steadying hand on his arm. "You're safe here, Caleb. It can't reach you while you're awake." He let out a shuddering breath. "Yeah, while I'm awake," he muttered. After a long pause, he continued in a halting whisper. "I don't know where it comes from, but when I'm dreaming, sometimes I ain't myself. It's like part of me is somewhere else, knowing things I shouldn't. Like I leave my body behind." He swallowed hard. "Out there, there's no walls or nothing. Just emptiness, and that light chasing me." A chill skittered up Catherine's spine at his words, spoken with frightened sincerity. "How long have you had these dreams?" "A few months," he said. "They got real bad after—" he clenched his jaw. "After I hurt my neighbor." She nodded gently. The crime that brought him here was as strange as his dreams. One afternoon, Caleb had inexplicably attacked a friend he'd known for years, beating the man to death in a sudden frenzy. Caleb had woken in the woods afterward, confused and horrified. He insisted he remembered nothing of the attack, only that he'd been in the grip of a nightmare just before he came to. Caleb's eyes dropped, full of shame. "I didn't even know I did it till they told me," he whispered. "I only remember pieces. I was having one of those nightmares before. Woke up in the snow and—" he bit down on a tremble in his jaw. "Sometimes I wonder if that light thing made me do it, or if it used me somehow." He looked up at Catherine with pleading eyes. "Sounds crazy, huh, Doc?" Her pen had stopped moving on the page. Normally she would reassure a patient like this that it was just the illness talking, just hallucinations. But this morning, She found herself unable to dismiss him so easily. "It doesn't sound crazy to me, Caleb," she said quietly. "I think something real is happening to you, even if we don't understand it yet." He blinked, clearly expecting a different response. His eyes glistened with tears he fought not to shed. "Thank you," he croaked. Catherine managed a small, reassuring smile, but inside her concern only deepened. Physically, it seemed these dreams were destroying him. His heart, his brain, every system struggled under the nightly onslaught. The previous night's EEG had shown something uncanny. Amid the chaotic spikes of REM sleep, there were bursts of synchronized brain activity that didn't match any pattern she knew. It was as if an external signal had locked onto his mind. That evening, Catherine retrieved a disused experimental device she'd once helped design, a portable neural amplifier meant to synchronize brainwaves between two people. The project had been abandoned, but the prototype still worked. If Caleb's mind truly reached beyond normal dreams, perhaps she could follow. Late that night, Catherine sat at Caleb's bedside again, the lights low. He lay unrestrained, propped on pillows, drowsy but afraid. She had given him only a mild sedative, just enough to take the edge off his terror. He had begged for a heavier dose, dreading what awaited in sleep, but she needed him to dream. "It's okay," she murmured as he stared at her with glassy apprehension. "I'll be right here the whole time." Catherine gently attached electrode patches to his forehead and temples, then did the same to herself. Wires linked them to the laptop and the amplifier on a nearby cart. On the screen, twin lines of their brain activity scrolled in real time. His was jittery with anxious wakefulness. Hers showed its own tension, a jagged anticipation. "Try to relax," she whispered. Outside the window, an autumn wind rattled a few dry leaves against the glass. Midnight approached, bringing a heavy stillness over the ward. Catherine set the device to synchronize when it detected Caleb's descent into REM sleep. A part of her still couldn't believe what she was attempting, but she steeled herself with resolve. If there was even a chance to understand the truth of Caleb's nightmares, she would take it. Caleb's eyes were closed now, his breaths coming slow, and even as the sedative and exhaustion drew him down. "Doc," he mumbled thickly, not opening his eyes. "I'm scared." "I know," she replied, squeezing his hand gently. "You're not alone. I'm here with you." He drifted off with a faint nod. Catherine leaned back in her chair and exhaled. Her own heart thudded against her ribcage. She closed her eyes and finally let herself drift, not knowing what she might find on the other side. At first, Catherine wasn't sure if she had fallen asleep or died. One moment she was in the silent hospital room, the next she was elsewhere. She stood, perhaps floated, in a boundless expanse of darkness. Below her sprawled a surreal landscape, lit by emerald fires beneath a black sky thronged with strange stars. She felt weightless, her body aglow with a faint light of its own. Nearby, two other lights moved in the void. One was a radiant human shape, small but fierce, the other a towering amorphous blaze. Instinct told her who they were. The smaller was Caleb, or rather, the essence of him unleashed from his flesh. The larger was the thing that had haunted him, a blazing presence crackling with cruel intent. They were locked in silent combat. The blazing mass lunged and flared, and Caleb's luminous form darted in response, trailing sparks. No sound reached Catherine's ears, but she watched as the battle intensified. Brilliant arcs of light exploded in silence, a spectacle both beautiful and terrifying. A final flash of white seared Catherine's sight. She flinched as the brilliance engulfed everything. When the light dimmed, the blazing entity was gone. In its place drifted fading motes, like embers cooling in a vast night. Only one figure remained, the outline of a man composed of soft white luminescence. Caleb's soul, she realized, freed at last from torment. It approached her slowly. Though it had no face, She sensed gratitude emanating from it. In the hush of that cosmic expanse, a gentle voice filled her mind, distant yet clear. "Thank you." Catherine felt tears, if tears could exist in a place like this. The light that was Caleb pulsed, a tender farewell. "In sleep your souls wander the cosmos. He is free now. We shall meet again beyond." The voiceless message resonated through her thoughts. Before she could even attempt to respond, the glowing figure began to recede. It stretched into a bright streak and ascended among the strange stars, vanishing in a final flicker of white. Catherine gasped and found herself back in the hospital room. She jolted upright in the chair, chest heaving. A thin wisp of smoke curled up from the scorched circuit box of her device. The heart monitor beside Caleb's bed emitted a single, unbroken tone. She ripped the electrodes from her head and staggered to the bedside. "Caleb?" Her voice came out in a cracked whisper. He lay utterly still, eyes closed, face slack, but peaceful. With numb fingers, she pressed against his neck for a pulse she already knew wasn't there. Nothing. His body had given out at the same moment. The battle in that other world was won. Tears blurred Catherine's vision. She stood trembling over her patient's lifeless form, overwhelmed with sorrow, awe, and the fading remnants of that impossible dream. On sudden impulse, she turned to the small window set high in the wall. The night sky beyond was crystalline clear. Her breath caught. Low on the horizon, one star gleamed unnaturally bright, twinkling like a blue-white beacon against the dark. She recognized its position in Perseus from her late-night research. It was Algol, the demon star, burning with an intensity that made her eyes sting. As she watched in wonder, it slowly began to dim, its fierce light ebbing back to normal. A shaky laugh, half sob, escaped Catherine's throat. Coincidence or not, it felt like a sign, a cosmic salute from that distant plane. She brushed the wetness from her cheeks. Either way, she lifted a hand in a silent gesture of goodbye and awe toward that distant star. In that moment, she understood. Whatever the truth, part of her would forever remain on the other side of that darkness, wandering in spirit alongside those she had met beyond the wall of sleep. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, comment, or share this video with your friends. Subscribe to our channel to hear more stories like this one.